So, Google just dropped a new AI chip, and wow, it is a monster. But here's the thing, the real story here, the big picture, isn't just about this one piece of hardware. It's actually about this huge fundamental shift that's happening across the entire AI industry. Okay, let's get into it.
For years, all we've heard about is building and training these huge AI models, right? It felt like that was the whole game. But have you ever stopped to think, what happens after all that training is done? What happens when the AI is, finished with school? That question right there, that's what's driving everything right now. Well, the answer's pretty simple. The AI gets a job. We're officially in this new phase where these incredibly powerful models are being put to work, and I mean on a massive global scale. Think about it for a second. All that incredibly hard work, all that heavy lifting to create these super complex models, that was just the start. Now that they're here, the real action, where the real value is actually using them for everyday stuff. The whole focus is shifting from pure research to how can we use this in the real world right now? Okay, so to really get what's going on here, we gotta break down the two big parts of an AI's life. It all comes down to understanding the difference between training and inference.
So first up, you've got AI training. The absolute best way to picture this is, well, it's like sending the AI to school. It is an incredibly intense process where you're just feeding it mountains of data. We're talking books, articles, pictures, you name it. That's how it builds its knowledge base. It's super expensive, it takes a ton of computer power, but the key is that it mostly just happens once, right at the beginning.
And then, on the other side, you have AI inference. So, if training is school, then inference is the AI actually doing its job, out in the real world. Every single time you ask a chatbot a question or get an AI to summarize something for you, boom, that's inference. It's happening all the time, literally millions of times a second. So, it has to be crazy fast and super efficient. So, let's put it all together. This is the key takeaway. On one hand, you've got training. That's the school phase. It's a one-time thing, super resource heavy. On the other hand, you have inference. That's the job phase. It's happening constantly, and it's all about applying that knowledge. The entire industry is basically shifting its focus from building more schools to managing this massive global workforce of AIs.
And that's where Google's new chip comes in. That massive exploding demand for efficient inference, that's exactly what they're aiming for with this new piece of hardware. So, let me introduce you to Ironwood. This is Google's seventh generation tensor processing unit, or TPU for short. And you've got to understand, these aren't your average general-purpose chips. Nope. These are custom-built from the ground up, designed for one thing, AI. And Google's been working on this stuff, perfecting it for years.
All right, so how good is it really? Get this. The Ironwood chip gives you a 10 times peak performance improvement over Google's last top-of-the-line model. 10x. That is just a huge, huge leap in raw power. But wait, it's not just about being a brute. It's also about being smart. It delivers more than 4 times better performance per chip compared to their other recent models. So what does that mean? It's not just faster, it's way more efficient. So here's the bottom line on Ironwood. It's a total double threat. It is the most powerful and the most energy-efficient custom chip Google has ever built. It was designed from day one to handle that massive volume of inference tasks we were just talking about. And the big goal here? To make AI cheaper and way more accessible for all of us. And you have to see this as more than just a simple product launch for Google. It's really a declaration. They're basically saying, hey everyone, we are entering a whole new era for AI. And they've even got a name for it. Google is literally calling this the age of inference. They're sending a clear signal that the main event isn't just about building the models anymore. It's about putting them to work to do actual useful stuff. And the business side of this, it's enormous. Just think about it. As AI gets baked into more and more of the apps and services we use every day, the demand for this kind of efficient, high-volume computing is just going to explode. We're talking about near exponential growth here. And this isn't some future prediction. It's already happening. Let's take a quick look at the AI company Anthropic. They just signed this massive deal to use more of Google's TPUs. They're getting access to 1 million of these chips. And you have to ask, why? Well, it's because the efficiency you get from chips like Ironwood is absolutely critical for them to hit their business goals, like becoming cash flow positive. So this whole tech race, it feeds directly into one of the biggest fights in the business world today, the cloud wars.
For a long time now, Google Cloud has kind of been the scrappy underdog, right? Trailing behind the giants, Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. But now, AI is the new front line in this battle. And having the absolute best, most efficient custom hardware, well, that could be a total game changer. And if you look at the recent numbers, you can really see that momentum building. In Q3, Google Cloud's revenue shot up by an impressive 34% year over year. Now, okay, that's still a little behind Microsoft Azure's 40%, but it's blowing past the longtime leader, AWS, which only grew at 20%. The takeaway here is pretty clear. Google is seriously gaining ground.
And this is exactly where their long-term strategy could really pay off. Remember, Google has been designing these custom AI chips for a decade. That is a long-term bet, and that deep expertise could give them a huge edge now that the demand for AI compute is just skyrocketing.
So all of this leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. As AI stops being just a cool feature and becomes an absolutely essential utility, like electricity, will the company that makes the best, most efficient chips be the one that ultimately wins the cloud? The race is definitely on.